X-Men is full of powerful and crazy mutants with compelling storylines. One such mutant is Cyclops, who you might remember as a leader of the X-Men in both the comics and the X-Men film series. With his amazing powers to project energy blasts through his eyes and having the ability to create portals using those energy blasts makes him one of the powerful mutants in the world of X-Men. His unparalleled leadership qualities on the battlefield and his selflessness towards his fellow mutants and humanity make him one of the greatest heroes of comic books. So today, in this video, we will get to know more about this amazing superhero and his mutant abilities in detail and what makes him one of the most intriguing superheroes in the comic world. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. He kinda loves math. It is well known that Cyclops has laser vision in his eyes, which is called optic blast. He draws from the ambient energy around him, like solar energy and cosmic rays, which he converts into energy blasts and projects through his eyes. But imagine if you have those crazy powers and you have no control over them. How are you going to deal with them? Don't worry, Cyclops got them in control using his excellent geometrical skills. Not many superheroes in the comic world have the power to understand the intricate geometrical skills that can help them use their powers effectively on command. Only Captain America, Daredevil, and Quicksilver have this power, except Cyclops. With great power comes great responsibility, so Cyclops uses his geometrical skills to calculate angles and distances to accurately project his powers. This allows him to use his powers to target his enemies and block the incoming obstacles in his way. Being one of the best strategists, on par with the likes of Batman and Iron Man, he uses his geometrical skills to use his powers to analyze and curate a planned attack on the enemies. He's got a mind shield around him. Imagine being the husband of Jean Grey, one of the most powerful psychics on the planet. The man gotta learn how to defend himself from the powers of his wife, right? Scott does not possess the power of telepathic connections, but he spent enough time with his wife and his mentor, Professor X, who trained him really well to defend himself from any kind of telepathic attack on him. Scott, the leader of the X-Men, has incredibly strong willpower and determination that he can use to survive any telepathic power better than the characters who possess the power themselves. We also have to remember that he uses the energy field to produce his optic energy through his eyes, and using these powers, he can also generate a particular psionic field that helps him to get rid of the telepathic powers getting into his brain. He can chop off Wolverine's limbs with his eyes. If you remember the scene from X-Men Origins Wolverine, you must know of this fantastic metal called adamantium. In the movie, Wolverine gets a transformation in the lab by getting a coat of adamantium on his bones. It is a shiny, grayish metal, powerful enough to survive even a nuclear blast. Remember how Wolverine survived the Hiroshima blast? This metal is also one of the strongest metals in the fictional Marvel universe, which is impossible to penetrate. Even though Cyclops is powerful enough to destroy any metal in the universe using his laser blasts, there have been only a few incidents when he used this power to cut through adamantium. For example, in one of the storylines of Age of Apocalypse, after the death of Professor X, the X-Men break up. A few of them join the eponymous villain Apocalypse, and the remaining follow the rebel group of Magneto. The Wolverine, known as Weapon X in the alternate universe, fights Cyclops to save Jean Grey. During their fight, Cyclops shoots his optic blast on Weapon X, which cuts through his left hand. Though Cyclops possesses the power to destroy the metals, due to Wolverine's rapid healing powers, it is hard to defeat him in the battle. optic blaster shades. We get to see and experience the beautiful world through our eyes, but for a mutant like Scott, who projects other dimensional force through his eyes, getting the same experience without his visor is nearly impossible. A visor is a special piece of eyewear which he wears as a protective layer and a tool that he uses to shoot his optic blasts within his control. When he first made his debut in the first edition of X-Men, he was seen wearing red sunglasses to protect everyone around him. Still, Professor X crafted this eyewear for him with a special coat made out of a ruby quartz crystal that became his signature equipment throughout the comics. This visor has multiple layers of instruments, which act like a valve and allow him to regulate his blast accurately. This also helps him not to project any of his powers on others unintentionally. Scott's genetic X factor. When we talk about mutant DNA, it's no secret that some kind of genetic mutation in their DNA gives them the unique ability to do certain powerful acts that are not possible for a normal human being. If we go through the entire history of the X-Men, their leader and founding member, Scott Summers, is a powerful being who uses his optic beams to fight against the odds. In 1988 X Factor Volume 1, we saw a supervillain, Mr. Sinister, obsessed with Scott's DNA. It is well known that Sinister possessed the DNA of every mutant in the world and successfully cloned Jean Grey, but he was always obsessed with Scott Summers' strong and powerful DNA. He had plans to produce a superior mutant from the union of Scott and the cloned Jean, known as Madeline Pryor. We know that Jean is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and her union with Scott, who is also a powerful mutant with the powers to open dimensions through his optical shoots, would have produced a superior mutant child with unimaginable powers. We also have to remember that Cyclops is a powerful leader and master strategist, which makes him one of the best commanders in the Marvel Universe. He can be a better leader than Captain America himself. In the Marvel Universe, there are a plethora of superheroes with unique powers and personalities. Among these iconic characters, a few leaders emerged with crazy battleground stories to tell. Captain America for Avengers, Black Panther for Wakanda, and Reed Richards for the Fantastic Four are some of the well-known team leaders who have successfully won numerous fights with supervillains. But when we talk about the X-Men, many mutant superheroes have adorned the seat of their team leader, be it Professor X, Storm, Wolverine, or Cyclops. Cyclops is unarguably the best leader X-Men has ever had. Scott Summers has been leading the X-Men since he was just 15 years old. Being one of the most brilliant strategists and a master planner, he always finds a way to create and execute war plans to win the fights. He also understands his role as the group leader and tries his best to keep the team safe. Scott has demonstrated remarkable leadership in numerous battles, commanding the first X-Men team, taking on the de facto leader of mutant kind after M-Day, confronting one of the deadly villains, Norman Osborn, and fighting the Avengers with great success. He is just a good guy. There are some powerful superheroes in the universe with very strong psychic powers, such as Jean Grey, Professor X, Emma Frost, and Doctor Strange. These superheroes can control and persuade others' emotions, feelings, and brains with their telekinetic power. But it's rare to see someone without having any of that ability do such acts. Cyclops is one such mutant who can channel this power without having anything to do with telekinesis or psychic abilities. As we have already discussed, he can do such things because of his years-long relationship with his wife, Jean Grey, and Professor X, and his intense training. But not many comic fans know that he can also shoot positive blasts from his eyes. Well, we know he is one of the few mutants in the X-Men saga who never went rogue or betrayed his team, because he really is a loyal and sound guy at heart who never betrays his friends at any cost. But still, it's rare to see him shooting positive thoughts to win a battle. In the Uncanny X-Men Volume 1, Cyclops used the positive energy of humans to defeat a bunch of alien invaders by shooting them with his optic blast. This happened when an alien race called Xeno attacked Earth, who were apparently scared of positive energy. Professor X telepathically transferred all the positive thoughts from humans into Alex Summers, who converted them into cosmic rays. Scott absorbed the cosmic rays and used that positive thought to defeat the aliens. He's his own shield. When we talk about superheroes, we know them from their specific powers that are unique to them, and we always associate them with those superpowers. For example, Thor with his hammer, Iron Man with his suit, Magneto with his ability to use electromagnetic powers, and Spider-Man with his crazy spider webs, which allow them to fight with their enemies effectively. It is also well known that these superheroes are immune to their own powers, because if you are a superhero and you get killed by your own powers on the battlefield, that's a total failure, right? This is why most superheroes and villains are immune to their powers. In Cyclops' case, he uses optic blasts from his eyes, but though they seem like laser force coming out of his eyes, they are actually energy blasts from some other dimension. They are not any heat or hurtful energies that can hurt his eyeballs. If that were the case, he still wouldn't have his eyeballs. There have been many instances where he hit himself with his own force, but he came out safe from the incident. We also must remember that his kinetic energy is a constant force that can only be stopped if Cyclops closes his eyes or uses his visor. Without those, it's uncontrollable and acts like a wildfire. His black Vortex power. After decades of Marvel history, we have seen various mutants, superheroes, aliens, and cosmic beings. One such storyline is Black Vortex, where an ancient and powerful artifact named Black Vortex has the power to unlock the full potential of powerful beings who have surrendered themselves to its dark power. This artifact first appeared in the comics in the crossover called Guardians of the Galaxy and X-Men, the Black Vortex, which transcended into other comic series like Guardians of the Galaxy, All New X-Men, and Legendary Star-Lord. As we know, the Black Vortex gives the highest potential to the individual who surrenders themselves to itself. Many superheroes like Gamora, Star-Lord, and even Groot accepted their fate and surrendered themselves to the Black Vortex. But not many comic fans know that the Black Vortex made its way into the heart of Cyclops. Even though at the beginning of the comics he is against the idea of surrendering his soul to the cosmic powers of this alien object, he later agrees to do so because of his love for his future wife, Jean Grey. She convinced him to accept the powers and acquire the highest potential of his powers. After this, his optic blast became more powerful than ever before, and he gained absolute power to control his powers. He is solar powered. With his power to shoot energy blasts, Scott Summers needs a lot of energy to absorb and shoot them through his eyes at his will. But to do this, he needs a constant flow of energy by absorbing ambient energy, including air, water, ground, and sun. By absorbing this solar energy, he metabolizes it to generate optic blasts. For example, in the Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 in 2001, during the Eve of Destruction storyline, Cyclops transforms after being exposed to the energy of the mysterious entity known as the Neo. Though it's not mentioned to be powered specifically by the sun's power, we can assume that his ability to absorb the energy of any cosmic objects gave him the ability to fight Neo. According to the plot of 2006's X-Men Deadly Genesis, Cyclops' optic blasts are briefly strengthened by the energy of the Shi'ar, an alien species. Although not directly identified as solar energy, the Shi'ar technology that increases Cyclops' abilities uses cosmic energy, which may have solar sources. He's a polyglot and pugilist. Even superheroes with unique superpowers need to learn different martial arts and hand-to-hand combat skills because it allows them to adapt and control their powers in a disciplined manner. Martial arts give them a sense of control over their emotions and vulnerability with the ability to enable their performance in battles. To be true, Cyclops doesn't have any other superpower except his optic blasts, and that isn't enough to fight with an army of demons all alone. So he has adapted many martial arts forms to gain fighting skills and engage in hand-to-hand combat with his enemies. He has mastered several martial arts, such as judo, karate, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing, to prove his stand as a superhero in fights. But along with his fighting skills, he's also a multilingual person. Only some characters in the Marvel Universe are fluent in other languages except English, like Scarlet Witch, who is from Slovakia, speaks Slovakian, and as a spy, Black Widow is fluent in many different languages like Russian, French, German, and Chinese, to name a few. However, in the case of Scott Summers, he was taught those languages after he joined the X-Men. His mentor, Professor X, taught him Russian, and his friend and colleague, Emma Frost, who was, in fact, deeply in love with him, taught him Mandarin through her psychic abilities. Marvelous verdict. Ultimately, I'd like to tell you that this dude may not be the most powerful mutant with crazy mutant powers or cool gadgets, but he really is a guy with a golden heart. He is one of the most archetypical heroes who does anything to win over their enemies. This is one of the factors that allows him to be on the same page with Captain America himself, who, by the way, also helped him to win the Presidential Medal of Freedom. These are the reasons you should never mess with this powerful leader of the X-Men, because if you do, his wife will tear you apart in the blink of a second. So this is it for today. Check out our exclusive content on our channel, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos, and let us know what you think of them.